Oh boy, this is going to be a banger video for anyone who invests or trades stocks or crypto, because after months of experimenting, I just found the best way to get live market data into Claude so it can become your full-time analyst. In today's video, I'm going to show you the exact system so you can turn Claude into a stock market or crypto research beast. It works for both. And I'm going to give you the full folder setup so you can turn Claude into your personal analyst. In the past, people were simply priced out of the data. If you wanted the Bloomberg terminal, you'd have to pay tens of thousands of dollars. And if you wanted to get access to live data, you'd need to pay for a variety of screeners, which could easily cost you on subscriptions thousands of dollars per year. But now all you need is one connector, which most people don't even know about, that is already inbuilt into Claude. It has a free tier, so you can get started today for free as long as you have a Claude subscription. So in 2026, you can now get the same analysis that used to cost you thousands of dollars for essentially just the price of a daily coffee. Now, of course, I know what the pros out there are thinking. Well, Claude doesn't fully replace Bloomberg, and I do agree, but the reality is that the average retail investor, they don't need the Bloomberg terminal. It's overkill. What they need is live data to manage their portfolio better. What they need is a system so Claude actually remembers context and has the functionality to give them alerts on their portfolio. So that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to set up today. A full context system for your AI and the exact connector to get live data, and the 5 prompts which are going to help you find hidden gems in stocks and crypto and research and analyze your existing portfolio. And this is something that I'm now using on a daily basis. And on this channel, I truly believe we're putting out the best content on how to level up your trading and investing with AI. So if you enjoy content like this, make sure to subscribe, turn post notifications on, because we're only dropping bangers at the moment. And I feel like we're building a really nice series teaching you guys how to automate different components of your trading. It's honestly been a lot of fun, and we're going to keep upping the ante. The last video I did was on trading bots. I think this is a great addition because to know which assets you want to trade, you do need the data. And this video, unlike the last videos, apply to investors as well. So you don't need to be a trader. You could be a long-term investor, you could be a swing investor, and this is an amazing system for you. Okay, so what you need to do is go into Claude, and yes, you can also use GPT for this. So if you're not on Claude, it's a very similar process. Instead of using your Claude connectors, you're going to use GPT skills, and the data provider I'm going to give to you also operates on GPT. So the same system will apply. You'll just use Codex instead of Claude Code, or you'll use GPTs instead of Claude skills on Claude. But for the purpose of today's video, I'm going to show you how to do it on Claude, but still follow along if you don't use Claude, because it'll still be applicable. The first thing you want to do, and most people don't know this exists, but it's honestly one of the best parts about Claude, and that is the connectors section of Claude. So just go in to a Claude chat, click on connectors. You can see I've already got FMP turned on, but what you want to do is go to add connector, browse connectors, and then you could actually search from an existing library of popular connectors. Now, what are connectors? Well, these are integrated things directly into Claude that enable you to talk to a website or an application to extract its data. So the problem is, if you're just talking to Claude and you ask it, hey, what's the current price of Tesla? Or what was the latest earnings report? It's going to be scraping off the internet, which makes the data very unreliable. If you use a connector, you get instant data, you get accurate information, you get curated data. Now, this doesn't just apply to investing or trading. This applies to pretty much anything. And this is something that I think is super underrated that you need to start implementing. But for the sake of this video, what you want to use is a connector called FMP. So just search FMP and add it to Claude. FMP is a provider that gives you the financial data to access real-time quotes over 30 years of financial data. So this is historical prices, fundamentals, even insider transactions, and even more via their API, which you can just connect directly through Claude. So once it's connected, you want to navigate to a chat. Ideally, instead of doing it in a chat, you actually click on co-work. This way it can tap into a folder. And you'll see later in this video why you actually want a folder for this, so you can give Claude the necessary context to be able to help be a better advisor, essentially. So what you need to know before we get into things is that this can cost money, but for basic, it's free. So what I recommend is you just experiment on the free tier. You'll get 250 calls a day, and you'll be able to query basic information. But if you want more information, and if you are a serious investor or trader, I do think the best value for money is in the starter pack. It's $19 a month. By the way, this video is not sponsored, but from my experience, this is a nice sweet spot. Obviously, if you're like a power user, just like the power users of Claude, you can work up the plans as well. So technically it is free, but it can scale to as much as $50, just depending on how much you use it. And of course, if you start running automatic agentic flows, for example, generating morning reports of your portfolio so you can get a summary in your inbox every morning with what's happened in your portfolio overnight, which I think is a great value add. Clearly, that automation is going to chew up more tokens, more usage, which will probably warrant a higher plan limit, just making you aware of that. So before I show you the power of this and what it can do with the 5 prompts, firstly, what you will need is a context layer. Simply put, a context layer gives the Claude chat, in this case, the co-work session, the necessary information on you. So you want to have a document, and I'll show you how I've done it in a second, with your investor profile. Just brain dump this into Claude. Just do a voice prompting session where you just brain dump everything about you as an investor, what your preferences are, your net worth, any information you can give it, how much you make, what your goals are, what your strategy is. Then you want to use this to help flesh out a strategy with Claude. I did a video on this before where I went through that process in my financial advisor build, but essentially you want to distill a strategy to tell Claude what your general investment framework is. Tell it that you're open-minded because you don't want to skew the outputs, but you do want a strategy in place because if you are using this chat for swing trading, but your strategy document says you're a long-term investor, it might slightly conflate information, which will make it difficult for you to get the correct outputs. Then you want your portfolio in a spreadsheet. I actually recommend leveling this up and having it on a Google Sheet because this way it can tap into the live data. You can just basically automate using Claude Code, live data based on datasets API to get the exact prices and current weightings of your portfolio. You can just do it in Sheets. It's honestly the easiest way. And then you can connect that to Claude. So Claude Code will be able to adjust your Google Sheet based on the data. So Claude will be able to look at your Google Sheet connecting through the Google Drive connector. So you don't need to every single time your portfolio changes, re-download it and put it in a folder. So let me show you what the folder system looks like. It's simply a folder on my desktop which has these 5 documents. It has my investor profile. You do want to create .md files, markdown files, because these are much more efficient for the AI to ingest versus PDF files. This has my experience and background, my goals and time horizon, my risk tolerance, and my portfolio size bracket. If you look at portfolio.csv, this basically just has my entire portfolio. This isn't my exact portfolio. It's for the example of this video, but I think an even better version, as I said before, is actually doing it on Google Sheets, but I put it in there anyway for the example of the video. Then you want prompts.md. All the information, all the prompts from today's video will be available down below for free. That's going to have the entire setup guide from today's video, including the prompts. I'll talk more about that later, but these are the prompts that you want to use to analyze things in your portfolio. Then we have strategy MD, which breaks down the strategy of my portfolio, maximum drawdowns, rebalancing parameters, and Claude can actually help adjust your strategy over time. The cool thing about Cowork or Claude Code, they both have the capacity to tap into local folders and edit local folders. So over time, as your strategy evolves, this folder can evolve. And all of the trading strategies and skills that we've been building here together on the channel, you can actually have subfolders within this folder with those skills and with the memory context from those strategies, so you can create an ecosystem for your investments and for your trading. And then we have watchlist.md. This is essentially your thesis, tokens or stocks that you're watching, and things that you are waiting to potentially sell. This is the basic version. I think the leveled up version, which I discussed in a prior video, how to connect Claude to TradingView, is actually doing exactly that, connecting TradingView to Claude. So your Google Sheet portfolio connects to Claude and your TradingView connects to Claude, so you don't need to keep downloading your watch list. You can simply have Claude scanning your watch list every day and letting you know whether you're hitting a certain alert threshold. I already did a video on that. I'll do a follow-up soon in the context of this, but today I want to focus on the main component, which is this component here, the live market data. But I think now you have the gist of how to set up your folder system, and the entire folder system will be available in the description below for free. So what you can do is you can basically put that MD file directly into your Claude and it will just spin up these folders. So if you haven't created the right folder system, don't worry, because the prompt that I'm going to give you can just create those folders instantly. So that'll be available down below. But now let's go through the prompts, because this is the real source. I want to show you what FMP can do. So FMP should be connected here. I'm going to ask it, are you connected to FMP, just to make sure. You do have to make sure that you specify to use FMP, or what it will sometimes do is default back to the Claude chat. And that is very bad because then it's just going to pull from online websites, Yahoo, Finance, etc. So you do want to make sure every time that you are seeing the FMP logo whenever it's quoting stocks or giving you information, or you could just be getting and relying on the wrong information. The other thing that I should say is that you shouldn't rely on this fully as your financial advisor. Look, it's pretty good and it probably even makes less mistakes than humans, but at the end of the day, before you actually make a live purchase, you probably just want to double check whether the price is correct. Don't make life-altering investment decisions based on the data that Claude gives you. Yes, FMP is a lot more reliable than the Claude chat, but there could be an instance where you've accidentally defaulted to the Claude chat and you're not using FMP, and I don't want you to lose money because of that. So just be aware of that and double check everything yourself before trading. All right, so we just tested the integration. It says that it's live. We have the exact data coming through and we have the full endpoint suite available. So this includes quotes, statements, filings, very cool. Analyst estimates and targets, very cool. DSF, insider, and Senate trades. This is awesome. I'm actually going to do a future video on Quiver, which is custom built for this, but you can also use FMP for this on insider trading because that is crazy. I've been working on building some insider trading bots and honestly, it's insane. I'm going to show you the back tested results. But that's for a future video. Make sure you subscribe and turn the notifications on. I'm telling you guys, we're making the best AI market content on the entirety of YouTube right now. It's insane the stuff we're working on. I've got a whole dev team also helping me behind the scenes, analysts, researchers. It's awesome. It's also got access to screeners, technicals, earnings transcripts, calendars, ETF holding, crypto, and Forex. So all of this information that you'd usually, or in the past, before AI was this good, you'd have to search it up online. You're now just talking to a Claude chat. Do you see the power of this? And the thing is, so many people, and I'm willing to bet the majority of you, because this was literally me a few months ago, you're just using the Claude chat. So you're saying, hey, this is my portfolio. What should I do about this position or that position? And it doesn't have access to the data. This simple shift of just using a connector, not just for investing, but for other things as well, makes data on Claude so much more accurate. So now when I'm interfacing with portfolio decisions, it's just way better. So I've got my sample portfolio connected in the folder. You can see a variety of positions, Nvidia, Microsoft, etc. So keep that in mind, but it can still pull information for any stock, even if your portfolio is not connected. Let's run through 5 prompts. The first one that's cool is just a full snapshot. Let's say you're researching a stock, maybe you want to buy, or maybe you are just analyzing something in your portfolio. You can find out the full snapshot of its current price, how it's moved this month, valuation versus its 5-year average, last quarter's results versus analyst estimates, current analyst price targets, which is cool to see what real analysts are thinking about a particular position, and any red flags in recent filings. So if you click always allow, because I haven't done this before in this chat, okay, so you can see it's generated the snapshot. It's talked about, this is actually important. If you have your strategy document with your thesis, this is basically what you build over time, like a thesis for why you entered in a certain position, what your invalidation is. It'll tell you if there's something that breaks or triggers a certain thesis, which is very good for invalidations, because I know something a lot of people struggle with in crypto and in stocks as well is invalidating a trade. So you can have your technical parameters and your fundamental parameters for entering a trade as part of the context files, and then every single time there's a change, you can mark it down in the chat and then it will change the file so you can stay constantly updated. So you can actually just ask the chat, hey, is there anything across my portfolio which has triggered an invalidation, or has the overall strategy changed in the last 24 hours or the last week? And you can get the information. There's even a way to set up alerts for that. We'll get into all of that stuff in future videos, but we're building the blocks here. Today is about understanding how to get analysis from Claude. It also has read my position sizing 9.8% versus the target 7.10%. So it says no action required on that front. It talks about the current positioning. So the target is actually higher, 54% higher than current price, but it talks about some of the red flags to be aware of. And of course, if I want to learn more, a really just genuinely good way to learn about a prospective investment or a current investment is just to talk to Claude. Just be like, hey, what's the fundamental thesis here? What are the risks? What are the challenges? I find learning has completely changed. In the past, learning was reading a book or watching a video or reading an article. Although those things can still be good sometimes, I learn the best now just through going back and forth with AI. I feel like I can learn really quickly and learn about really obscure stocks and just have a conversation with Claude, retain the information, and I'm pulling it out of my head when I'm in a conversation to someone. Oh, have you seen this stock? It just makes you so much smarter just talking to Claude like it's your advisor or your friend. The next prompt that's really cool is that you can pull earnings reports or filings. And these are obviously big market drivers. So you can ask in this case for Tesla, Claude to summarize what actually changed in the quarter in terms of revenue drivers, margins, or guidance, and I'm asking it to flag anything management seems to be downplaying or burying. This was particularly helpful the other day because Meta is one of my stock positions when I was researching Meta, and I realized that what they were reporting on the balance sheet was significantly under the true amount of debt that they're accruing through some of the deals that they're doing, which is actually higher than what they're reporting, depending on how you want to read the data. That kind of nuance can help inform an investment. And I only found that because I did this. So you can see Claude is actually using FMP, but in conjunction with other sites. So Claude automatically cross-references information if it needs to pull more context aside from the live data. So you can see here, it's pulling the full filings digest. It says that volume is genuinely back. So they have a Q2 record for deliveries, but it's flagging a bit of shenanigans that went on with SpaceX, so something that's being buried that you should be aware of. And then it gives you a final output or a read. So a Stillman bull case where it maybe breaks my rules based on my context, and it gives me some sources to look into if I want to read further. This is amazing for researching a stock. The third prompt out of the 5, which I like, and stick around for the last one because that's where I'm going to show you how to automate a report, which I think is really cool, on a schedule that can get sent to you every morning. It's awesome. But the third prompt is comparison. So when you have to weigh up 2 investments that you like, and I find this is very good for like ETFs, especially when I'm weighing up like 2 AI robotics ETFs and I just want to buy one of them, I can compare both of them. So the growth, the fees, etc. So for this example, I'm doing AMD versus NVIDIA, so a comparison table, but you can do this for any stock, any crypto position, and I find it really helpful to be able to easily compare 2 potential investments. Because a major element of investing and trading is opportunity cost. It's not just about making money. It's also about ensuring that you're in the right asset with the right risk-adjusted returns. So missing out on an investment that had a lower level amount of risk that ends up performing the same as another investment is actually a mistake in opportunity cost terms because your risk beta could have been more favorable, but you potentially made the wrong decision. So it's a very important part of investing, and that's where I like comparative prompts like this. Also, if you've just recently found my content from AI or AI trading, one thing you got to know about me is I've been investing in stocks for the last 8 years. Honestly, I've been researching stocks since I was like 15, 16 years old. But ever since I was 18, I'm turning 26 now, I've been managing a stock portfolio alongside all of my trading stuff. It hasn't historically been as fun to talk about as some of the trading stuff, but I think with AI, now stock investing becomes even easier than ever. The barrier to entry on information is even better. And really where the moat is now is being able to manage your own emotions, because everyone has access to data. Not everyone's aware you can do it to this level. So this is definitely an edge in the shorter term. But with data now being commoditized, the real edge is being able to survive major drawdowns, make calculated decisions, and ultimately execute on a thesis. So if you can use AI to be more objective and execute on a thesis, that in and of itself is a real edge. And obviously, information speed is also a tangible edge. So that's one of the big reasons I've been using AI more and more in my stock investing and trading. So you can see we have the full comparison table, and it has the outcome that it thinks NVIDIA is probably a better hold over the next 5 years, but obviously with some caveats. I've saved the best 2 prompts for last. The previous prompts are all on stocks that you already know, but Datasets has access to pretty much all information on all stocks, so it can also be used to find opportunities, especially towards the end of a cycle. If you're looking for higher beta exposure to the market, you might be looking for small caps, you might be looking for hidden gems, and this is where this prompt is really strong. Screen the market for small caps under 2 billion with revenue growth above 25%, positive free cash flow, and expanding margins. Cross-check against analyst coverage and flag the 3 to 5 trading furthest below price targets. Give me the bull case and the biggest risk for each. You can also reword this to find things with different parameters, and you can also backtest historically what parameters for a small cap end up typically generating the strongest returns. Obviously, I wouldn't just buy a small cap because Claude mentioned it, but this prompt is really good because it can help you find things that you weren't aware of. The best mental model for this, in my opinion, is starting thesis first. So come up with your investing thesis. Are you bullish on semiconductors? What's the thesis around that? I'm personally really bullish longer term on commodities that are going to be used in electric vehicles, in robotics. I like the hardware side because we don't quite know what's going to happen with the software side or the crazy capex, so expenditure from the hyperscalers. Then once you have a thesis for a sector, that's where you can look at certain things. So for example, I'm very bullish on robotics. I am looking for things outside of the indexes that have proven revenue, proven margins, with proven leaders that are still smaller cap but have high potential for growth, for example. And then you can just curate your shortlist down. Once you create a shortlist, then put it into TradingView, watch it, or connect it to Claude. I've done a video on it, so you can monitor price and get alerted if something changes. So just be aware, this screening prompt does require a paid plan. The higher your plan, the more data you're going to get, the more historical data. So if you want access to earnings call transcripts, mutual fund holdings, institutions, like all of this extra stuff to help get edge, Ultimate's honestly the best, but really the biggest jump is going to be between basic and starter. So start with basic, then if there are prompts that you're finding you can't execute, move to starter and then move up the ladder a bit. I'm personally on the ultimate plan, but you don't need this for this prompt. It just helps with the extra data. So with the parameters that I gave it, there are 106 potential stocks that fit those parameters. It's going to fan out the rest of the market across parallel agents, and it's going to condense the data into a final list. So you can see it's running agents within Claude in order to find the stocks. So this is extremely cool. It's ranked the small cap opportunities, and then it gives you the bull case and the biggest risk. And obviously, if anything piques your interest within a sector that you like, you could just follow up and get more information. Very, very cool prompt. But this is the coolest prompt of them all. I want to set up a scheduled task for every morning at 9 a.m. I'm going to select weekdays only, and I want it as an HTML artifact, and I'm going to give it the prompt. Then I'm going to send it what loop I want it to run. So overnight moves in the major indexes, latest news on my portfolio, flag if anything hits my holdings, upcoming earnings I need to watch, etc. So literally every day, I just get a morning report at 9 a.m. And unlike using a normal Claude chat, I'm using FMP, so I'm getting all of the actual data, so it's not going to hallucinate and give me wrong information. So right now it's going to pull up an example morning report so you can see what you'll get every morning. Here's a tip for you. If you go into the top left corner of Claude and click on scheduled tasks, you can see all of your current scheduled tasks. You can see this has already been created. So you can see all of your scheduled tasks here. You could have 10 running at once for various things. You could have 20, 30, 40, 50. A lot of people don't even know you can do this, but this is how you create agentic workflows that work without you being involved. Okay, this is awesome. So it just gave me a morning loop with the overnight tape of what happened across the entire market, all of my positions based on my real sample portfolio. If you do this, it'll be based on your real portfolio, what moved and why, and the day ahead. This is amazing. This means that you can literally take that procrastination that a lot of us have had in the past of like checking positions and rebalancing. It can take all of that off the table. And with the execution layers now being automatable as well, so rebalancing using agents in Robinhood, in brokerages, which are coming to a lot of brokerages now through Alpaca, even interactive brokers, like you're now going to be able to start automating execution through Claude as well. That's definitely for a future video. It's much more complex and nuanced, but once you set up this system, that's the next part. So that's why I'm 100% of the belief that AI is going to completely revolutionize trading and investing. I don't think people are going to be opening manual trades or positions in the future. I think they'll still decide what to do in many cases, but I think the execution and the research is going to be done by AI. So hopefully you got some value out of this video so you can do the same. I'm going to leave below the full prompt. It's a markdown file. Chuck it into your Claude. It's going to spin up the folders. It's going to give it the entire context from this context layer. Plus, it's going to have the 5 prompts. So it's just plug and play for you. All you need to do is follow the steps in the description below, become a part of the community, and you'll get access to this for free. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We're only dropping bangers here on Deutscher Finance. I'll see you in the next video. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.